now we are moving on to the OOPS concepts. The OOPS concepts is object oriented programming. Okay, object oriented programming concepts. Okay, so here what will happen is, till now we have seen variables, functions, okay, iterative statements, conditional statements. We have seen everything, right? So if you want to bundle something into together, at the time we will be using the OOPS concept. Okay, I'm going to do some certain functions. I want to do the related thing, like related variables, related functions, okay, everything into something bundled together. At the time I will be using the object oriented programming concepts. Here what will happen is, it will take everything as objects. If I give some variable, it will take it as an object. If there is a for loop, it will take it as an object. Okay, so here everything will be taken as an object. Okay, so what you are going to do is, you are going to bind all the related data and functions, everything as a single unit. Okay, that unit is called the class. Okay, here your class is like a blueprint. For example, we are going to build a new house. What is the first thing? We'll call the engineer and ask them to make some blueprint. Am I right?
Yes.
So according to the blueprint, we can make all kinds of houses. Right? So here our class will provide everything as a blueprint. And our object is the instance of the class. For example, I'm having the house blueprint. I'm going to build one house. It is the one-story building. I can use the blueprint. Okay, so I can create an object called the one-story building. With the help of the object, I can access that blueprint. I can access everything inside the blueprint. So I can even make some changes to the blueprint. Okay, so this is how your class, objects, everything will work. Okay, so in Python object-oriented programming languages, we are having class, we are having objects, we are having polymorphism, encapsulation, inheritance. First, let's see what is class and objects. So as I said, a class is the blueprint of the objects. It will be containing all related things, all related functions. For example, I'm having the class dog. CLAS, so you have to use the keyword class and you have to name the class. Okay, always remember your class name should be start with capital letter. Even if you use small letter, your program will work. But it is like an unwritten rule. Whichever programming language you take, your class name always start with the capital letter. Okay. Then, like for loop if condition, you have to end it with colon. Then what you can do is, you can give the name of the dog or species, everything. Okay, whichever thing you want here, you can produce here. Okay, for example, I want the dog name equal to, okay, some other name, for example, Jimmy. In my house, we had a dog. Its name is Jimmy. From 3 years ago, it died. Its name is Jimmy. Okay, and some age. Yeah, it was 15 at the time, I think. No, it was more than that. No, it was 15. In color, brown. Okay, so it will be equal, and then will be in the quotation. Okay, so like this, I'm having everything related to my dog. Okay, so it doesn't mean that every dog will be having the same name, age, and color. Okay, so it will change according to the dog. The species may be changed. Okay, the species may be changed. It may be species bulldog. I don't know other species, other dog species, and even I know the names, but I don't know the spelling. Okay, so I'm simply using bulldog. Okay, so these are the variables I am going to use. So this everything is related to dog. So what are the functionality of dog? What are the functionality of dog? Barking. It is the functionality of dog, right? These are all the attributes of dog. Its color, age, species are the attributes of dog. And functionality of dog, which means the behavior, what the dogs will do. It will bark, it will wagging its tail. Okay, so whatever it do, those are all the behavior. So we can make it as the function here. Then what you have to do is, if you are going to use function inside the class, till now we haven't created any class. So if you are going to create a class function inside the class, you have to use the keyword self. After self, if you want to pass some parameters, here I'm not going to pass any parameters inside the function. Okay, here I'm not going to pass any parameters inside the function. Simply I'm creating the functionality barking. Okay, so you cannot simply leave it. You have to use the keyword self. It doesn't mean that it has to be self. It can be anything. Okay, that denotes the function inside the class. Afterwards, you can pass any parameters that is relevant to it. Okay, so here I have created def barking self. Now I am going to print. Okay, so here we have seen string, right? If you want to connect two strings, join two strings, you can use the operator plus. Okay, you can use the operator plus. For example, let's create a two string inside here. Okay, string 1. Oof. Okay, and then string 2. That is also oof. So what I want to do is, I want to join these two strings. I can use the plus operator here. String 1 plus string 2. Okay, so now what you can do is, you can create an object for this function. Sorry, class. We have created the class. We have created some function inside the class. We are having some attributes for our class. But if you want to access the class, you have to create an object. Okay, so here I'm going to create an object for the class. So it can be any name. I'm simply using, for your understanding, object equal to dog and parenthesis. This is how you have to create a object for the class. After creating the object, you can access all these elements inside the class with the help of object. If I want to print the name, I can use the object 1.name. Okay, so if I want to call this function barking, I can use the object 1.barking. Okay, so when I run this program, it will produce the output as Jimmy. And here you can see it calls the function and it produced the result here. Oof, oof. So this is what your plus operator will do. Even you can use comma here, but what's the difference is the comma operator automatically give the space. Okay, whereas your plus will join it. Okay, but whereas your comma, what it will do is it will give some white space between the two strings. Okay, so or else you can even use like this. My dog box, and then you can use the format keyword and you can put your strings here. String 1. Okay. Next, string 2. Okay. So instead of using comma and plus, you can even use it like this with the help of the keyword F. Okay. Before the quotation, if you have used F, you can add your values here automatically. Other than this, you can even use the keyword format. Okay, so now run this program. My dog box, poof, poof. Okay, so you can even use the keyword format. Instead of F, you can even use the keyword format. Here you can give the empty curly braces. Okay, empty curly braces. Then after that, dot format, and inside the bracket you can pass the variable, that is string 1. Okay, if you're having two variables, what you can do? Try to find out that. Okay, so here what it says, replacement index 1 out of range for positional arguments tuples. Why it is saying this error here? Tell me. Tell me why it is showing this error. Here I have used this line. For this line it is showing error. Why?
Because it is string instead of numerical.
Because it is string instead of numerical. No, I have used two empty bracket here and I have passed the value for bracket. So it is showing error. Why?
Replacement index for 1 is out of range. Format.
Search it. Search for format function in net and tell me which error it caused.
I think we should give this directly.
Sorry?
Instead of string 1.
Yeah.
I think we have to give directly woof.
Directly the value. Oof.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try to give that. Let's run this. Again, it is showing error.
We have to have string 1 only there, but
Okay, so take it as an assignment and find out how to use the format keyword. Okay. So here some changes we have to make. According to the changes, we have to make another change here. We're trying to find out that. Okay, this is one of the assignment. Okay, there are many format of using strings and integers inside the quotation of the print statements. I have shown you F and I have already shown you comma and plus operator. So we are having the another thing called percentage, and we are having this dot format function also. Okay, so try to find out that. Okay. Fine.
Okay.
So are you able to understand this till now? Class and functions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is what we have done, right? So now what we are going to do is we are going to create a function with the parameters. Okay, we are going to create a function with the parameters. So I'm going to delete this. Here I'm going to have the parameter sound. Okay, and here I'm going to have sound. Okay, now when you are calling this function using the object, you can produce the, you can pass the value here. We are already having self. You can ask, ma'am, we are already having the self as the parameters, but we are only passing the one value here. Why? Here the self is like a keyword. You don't need to pass any value for the keyword. It just tells that your function is inside the class, so you have to use the keyword self. Okay. After self, you are having parameters. It can be one or it can be multiple parameters. So for that parameters, you have to give the values here. Okay, so if you don't give some values to the parameters, it will show you some error. Now let me run this. So here it says oof. And one more thing, if you are going to use any of the variables which is outside the function of the class. Okay, so I forgot to tell you one thing. If you are going to use function inside the class, this function is called methods. If you're going to use function inside the class, this function is called the methods. Okay, so without class, here we have used, right, these are all function. So if there is any function inside the class, that function is called the methods. And if you're going to use any attributes of the class inside the function of the class, you have to use the keyword self. Okay, here you can see I am simply going to print name. Having name there, right? So I'm going to simply print name. It will show you error. Okay, name is not defined. It will show you error. So if you want to use the name which is outside the method, so you have to use the keyword self. Self dot name. Now when you run this, it will produce the input. Okay, always remember, if you're going to, here for sound we haven't used the keyword self. Okay, just because it is inside the function, inside the method, but these are all outside the method. So if you want to use this inside this function, you have to use the keyword self. Are you able to understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now what you are going to do is you are going to use the function called the init def double time underscore 2 times underscore and then again 2 times underscore and self. Here this init function can be considered as the constructor for our class. The constructor is nothing but whenever you are creating an object for the class, it will invoke some function that is called the constructor. Okay, it will be automatically invoked, or you can even create it. Okay, so here also you are using the keyword self. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the species. I'm to pass the parameter species. Okay, then what should happen is it should print spaces. Now, as for passing the values to this, okay, this is called the constructor of the class. Whenever you are creating object for the class, it will be automatically invoked. Even if you don't define this, it will be automatically invoked. Or else if you want to pass some parameters, if you want to specifically create some constructor, okay, at the time you can create this init function. Okay, so I want the object to pass the species of the dog. So I'm creating this constructor and I want the species to be printed there. So how to access this function using the object? For this function, you don't need to call using the function name. Okay, for this, you can use the class name. And if you want to pass any parameters inside the class name, you can pass it. Okay, so at the time, what I told you, when I create the object, this function will be invoked, right? So when I have created, when the Python run this line, this function will automatically run. Afterwards, it will move on to the next line. Now I run this. See, first it came bulldog. When Python comes to this line will be automatically invoked. We don't need to deliberately call this function init. Are you able to understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we are going to see the concept inheritance. So normally what is the inheritance mean? Inheritance.
You inherit properties.
Yeah. So in our family also, they'll be saying your character is like your grandfather. Okay. You look like your father. You look like your mother. Okay. We have inherited something from our father, grandfather, or great grandfather and all. Am I right? So likewise, we are going to access some values of here we can say that it is a parent class. Okay, so from the parent class, if you want to access some, or if you want some properties from your parent class, you can use the inheritance. You're going to create some child class. In the child class, you need something that is in your parent class. At that time, you can use the inheritance. Okay. How can we do that? First, you have to create a class. How to create a class? How to create a class?
You have to name it first.
Okay. First, you have to use the keyword class. Okay, then
Class.
you have to name the class. Here, I'm going to name it as, okay. Here, I want to name it as cat. Okay. Now, what I want is, I want to use the name, age, color of the dog class inside my cat class. Okay, just take it as it is the child class for dog. Dog is the parent class. So what I can do, I can pass the dog inside the cat class, so that it will know that it is inheriting some of the properties from the parent class called dog. Okay. So now simply I'm just using the keyword pass. I'm not going to do anything inside the cat class. Now I'm going to create some object here. Cat1 equal to, how to create an object? Object name equal to object name equal to object name equal to class name. Okay. Object name equal to class name. So to create an object, cat1 equal to cat. If you want to create some object for the class, you have to use the object name and you have to call the class name here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I don't have anything inside my class name. I don't want anything. So I have simply used the keyword pass. So which means that if I want to add something later, I can add it later. So if I don't want anything, means I can use the keyword pass there. Which means the class exists, but I don't have any attributes that are functions inside the class. Okay, I have simply inherited the class dog here. Now, using this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to access the name from the dog class. Okay, so cat1.name. What will happen is it will check whether this name is inside the cat class. That is nothing inside my cat class. So it will go like, okay, I have inherited the dog class here. So let me check it the dog class. It will go there. It will check the name is there. So it will access that. Okay, now let me run this program here. Okay. Okay, so I have inherited the dog here, right? Dog class here, right? So for the constructor, I have used the parameter spaces, right? So whenever I'm using here, I have to pass the constructor. Here, what I'm going to pass here is, do you know any spaces of cat? Any spaces of cat?
Yeah, lion,
No.
Line.
tiger.
Line.
They are all like different species. But like yeah, in cats and dogs, like you, like currently it's more like the breed.
Yeah, breed.
Yeah, and then I mean some of the dogs are getting into the species part, but then not all.
Yeah. So let's use line here. Even I don't know anything about the cats. But I'm having cats in my home.
Oh, great.
Now what is happening here is, so now I'm calling this. What will happen is it will go there and check it and the line is printed. Afterwards, the name of the Jimmy. It has been printed here. So like this, you can inherit the values and functions and methods from your parent class. Any doubts here? Any doubts? So these are all basics. Actually, we are covering most of the concepts in the 2-hour class, right? So I'm only teaching you all the basics things. So if you want some weekend session, we are having these things, right? During the weekdays, if you want some doubt clearing session, we can have it for 1 hour. At the time, we can only concentrate on a certain concept which you are having doubts. Okay, so when you are doing some programs and projects on these topics, at the time you will be able to understand all these concepts. For yesterday's and today's concepts, I'll be giving some 5 to 10 programs and 10 exercises, 10 questions and all I will be providing. So I'll be able to understand all these concepts. Do you have any doubts till now?
No, ma'am. Like if I'm
Okay, fine.
practicing, I'll get, I think.
Yeah, you can use Hacker Earth, Hacker Rank, and then even in GUBI, that is one thing done by the IIT students. There also you can find the Python working things and all. You can work on there. That will be much more beneficial than simply working on your Jupyter notebook. That will be much more beneficial. Try to do it on Hacker Earth and Hacker Rank. Okay.
Okay,
So,
ma'am.
any doubts? If there is any other concepts, I will discuss it in the next week session. I think I have covered most of the concepts. I think. Sir, did I miss anything?
As of now, no. I mean, see, there are much more concepts that we need to work on, but then
Yeah.
what can happen is like once everything is they start working on the projects, we will start adding one additional functions, or we'll start explaining them how they
Yes, sir.
will add and they will get the project done faster, you know.
Okay. I have covered mostly I have covered the map, filter and reduce, which will be very helpful, and lambda function I have covered. So as for the list comprehension, you'll be working on the tuples dictionary also. The same thing, same kind of concepts will be done in the dictionary and the tuples also. If you understand list comprehension, you can do the same in the dictionary also. Okay, for dictionary, what you will be getting is you will be having the key and value pair. For each and every day, we will be getting key and value pair from the user, and like that, you will be adding elements in the list. Sorry, dictionary. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So in the upcoming classes, I'll be discussing decorators and some missed concepts. Those are somewhat the advanced concepts related to Python data science and your deployment phase. You'll be using some Flask and all for deployment. So at that time, you'll be using decorators. So you'll be able to understand those things.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have any doubts, you can ask me.